George, it seems like in the food and farming world, a lot of time the way people learn things, and maybe the best way to learn things, is you learn it firsthand, secondhand. And what I mean by that is you're hanging out, you're doing something, somebody starts telling you, do this, do this, do that, do that. You just started working there. Well, you're maybe training at the knee of a master. And over time, that just kind of rubs off. And all of a sudden, you look around one day and you know how to do it.
Right. That's true. Our stew maker, Joe Tyson, started about 35 years ago doing that. He helped my grandfather doing the stew. He was his assistant. And
so that's exactly what we're talking about then. Toots was in here, he was the stew man. Now that stew story actually goes even further back than that. That's an old recipe.
Well, the recipe that my grandfather used was his father's recipe. And of course, I think he tweaked it a little bit, but mostly was his recipe, my great-grandfather.
So then your grandfather had perfected it, had it running like an art form. Joe was just a kid who worked here then.
Yeah, well, Joe, he had a full-time job and had several part-time jobs, and this was one of them. He is a working person.
So he was working here, started helping out your granddad. And cut this up, give me some of this, bring me some of that, stir this pot.
Right.
Do whatever. And over
Which
time,
eventually led into him being the stew maker, and has been for 30 years now.
For 30, 35 years, he's been coming in here. How much stew are we talking about? Because it sure does look like a lot goes out
Well,
that
I mean,
door.
you possibly, he may make 400 gallons or so a week.
Wow. How big's a batch?
A batch is 80 gallons.
80 gallons, and that is, we're talking about lean beef.
We use lean beef. We use Iowa ground roast beef is what we use.
Wow.
We have been accused of using hamburger meat, but that's far from hamburger meat. But it is ground like hamburger meat. But it's a very lean product, and that's what we're looking for is a lean stew. So,
And then beyond that, it's just your vegetables, your corn, potatoes,
and other spices you put in there. But it's a huge job, and he's the hardest working person we've got.
Well, I mean, in this day and age, you could easily just open a big can of potatoes and dump them in there. But I hear Mr. Joe actually he prefers Idaho.
We use Idaho potatoes, and we peel it. He peels every one of them.
Every one by hand.
By hand.
For 400 gallons of stew.
A lot of potatoes.
Wow, that's the kind of human touch. That's the kind of human element that we don't see a whole lot of places anymore.
That's true, and of course, at some point in time he'll hang it up. But he does have his son is helping him now as an assistant, so he'll be coming along when Joe retires.
And that's how the next one comes along.
That's right.
So then at that point, he'll have to decide if he wants to keep peeling those potatoes by hand, or if he wants to open up that can.
Well, we won't be doing the can thing, so somebody will be peeling.
Somebody's always going to be peeling. Sometimes it seems like, they say you can't fight City Hall. Eventually, progress overtakes everything. It sounds like y'all are determined to hold it off with one arm at least as long as you can.
Well, you try to. Of course, there are potato peelers.
Sure.
And but my grandfather,
Joe Tyson is one.
Well, I mean, an automatic. When my grandfather did try one time, and we had one, but it basically, by the time you got through, if you totally, it bounced them around basically and scrubbed the peel off of them. By the time you got all the peeling off of it, you didn't have much potato left. So, and he was very conservative, so that's the reason he's stuck with the hand. The hand peeling, because you wasted too much potato when you used an automatic.